In this video, we are going to see a comprehensive problem of cost sheet. What is cost sheet? Cost sheet is a statement showing the total cost and a proper classification in a logical order. So generally, the total expense incurred for a particular product can be analyzed under different heads in a statement form is called cost sheet. So here we are going to see the different classification in a logical order as a statement form. So let me explain the logical order of cost sheet. So the first one is prime cost. So prime cost, which consists direct material plus direct labor plus direct expenses. All these three elements combinedly called as prime cost. So prime cost is the first classification which comes under cost sheet. After finding prime cost, the second classification is work cost. So work cost is equal to prime cost. That is, the first step is we need to find prime cost. So after finding the prime cost only, we can able to find work cost. So work cost consists of prime cost plus factory overheads. So factory overheads means all other indirect expenses which is related with the factory or which is related with the production or manufacturing is called factory overheads. So prime cost plus factory overheads is equal to work cost. After finding work cost, the next classification is cost of production. So cost of production consists of work cost plus office and administrative overheads. Okay, all office and administrative expenses are called as office and administrative overheads. So all these expenses will be added along with the work cost in order to find out cost of production. The first step is prime cost, second one is work cost, and the third classification is cost of production. And after finding the cost of production, cost of sales. So cost of sales is equal to cost of production, that is cost of production plus selling and distribution overheads. So all the expenses which is related with the selling of finished goods and distribution expenses are called as selling and distribution overheads. After finding cost of production, we need to add selling and distribution expenses along with the cost of production. Then you will be getting cost of sales. So cost of sales is the aggregate of all the direct and indirect cost connected to the goods sold is equal to cost of sales. And now we need to add profit along with the cost of sales. Then you will be getting selling price or sales. So sales is equal to cost, that is cost of sales plus profit. This is the logical order which comes under cost sheet. Now let us see the cost sheet format. Let us see the cost sheet format. First step is we need to find prime cost. Okay, the prime cost consists of three things. First one is direct material, direct wages, and direct expenses. These are the three important things which consist of prime cost. So first thing, raw material consumed. So in order to find out the raw material consumed or direct material, first we have to take the opening stock of raw material and add purchase made during the year and add any expenses on purchase. For example, carriage on purchase or carriage inwards. Okay, add along with the opening stock. Then subtract closing stock of raw material, and if there is any direct material scrap sold, that should be subtracted. Then you will be getting raw material consumed during the year. Okay, after finding raw material consumed, add any direct labor or direct wages and add direct expenses. Then you will be getting prime cost. After finding prime cost, the next step is we need to find work cost. Okay, so in order to find out work cost, we need to add factory overheads along with prime cost. See, Factory overhead means this is the aggregate of indirect material, indirect wages and indirect expenses. For example, indirect expenses means any expenses related with factory like rent, power, depreciation, lighting and heating incurred in the factory. So these are the factory related indirect expenses. All these things combinedly called as factory overheads. Okay, and then we need to add opening stock of work in progress and we need to subtract closing stock of work in progress. Then you will be getting work cost or factory cost or manufacturing cost. And next step is we need to calculate cost of production. In order to find out the cost of production, we need to add office and administrative overheads along with work cost. Let me explain the meaning of administrative overheads. Administrative overhead means all the indirect expenses which is incurred in the organization, that is office and administrative. For example, salary of office staff, accountants, director fee, rent of office building, stationery expenses, all these expenses which is related with office and administrative overheads. After finding the cost of production, then we need to calculate cost of production of goods sold. For that, take the opening stock of finished goods, add along with the cost of production and subtract closing stock of finished goods. Then you will be getting cost of production of goods sold. After finding the cost of production of goods sold, the next step is we need to calculate cost of sales. For that, add selling and distribution overheads along with cost of production of goods sold. See, let me explain the concept of selling and distribution overheads. Selling and distribution overhead means all the indirect expenses which is incurred after production of the finished goods. That is, after producing the product, you need to incur certain expenses in order to reach the finished product to customer. For example, advertising, salesman commission, salesman charges, all these expenses which is connected with selling and distribution overheads. Okay, and finally, after getting cost of sales, you need to add profit along with cost. Then you will be getting selling price. The balancing figure will be either profit or loss according to the problem. Okay, now let us see one problem based on this format for better understanding. Look at the problem. From the following particulars, prepare a statement showing the components of the total sales and the profit for the year ended 31st December 2015. First one, stock of raw materials on 1st January 2015. This one is opening stock of raw material. How much? 75,000. Next one, stock of raw materials on 31st December 2015. This one is closing stock of raw material. 95,000. Next one, direct wages 40,000. Direct expenses 10,000. Indirect wages 2,500. Work in progress, that is opening work in progress 25,000 and closing work in progress 32,000. Next one, purchase of raw materials 68,000. Then factory rent, rates and power 12,000. Next one, depreciation of plant and machinery 3,000. Then carriage inwards 2,000. Next one, carriage outwards 2,300. Then advertising 3,200. Office rent and rates 2,500. Travelers wages and commission 6,300. Repairs to plant and machinery 1,000. Director fees 3,000. Next one, general charges 4,000. Then stock of finished goods, that is opening stock of finished goods 50,000 and closing stock of finished goods 30,000. And finally sales 2,10,000. With this information, they ask you to prepare a statement showing total sales and the profit. Now let us see the solution. For our understanding, first identify the different categories of expenses. First one, opening stock of raw material. This will comes under prime cost. Next one, closing stock of raw material. This is also comes for prime cost. Then direct wages also, which comes for prime cost. Direct expenses also, which come for prime cost. Next one, indirect wages, which is comes under factory overheads. Next one, opening stock of work in progress. This will comes under factory overheads. Next one, closing stock of work in progress also factory overheads. Next one, purchase of raw materials. This comes under prime cost. Then factory rent, rates and power, which comes under factory overheads. Then depreciation of plant and machinery also belong to factory overheads. Then carriage inwards, which is belong to prime cost. Next one is carriage outwards. Carriage outwards also an expense which is incurred at the time of selling and distribution of finished goods. So this will be comes under selling and distribution overheads. Next one, advertising also selling and distribution overheads. Office rent and taxes. This will be comes under office and administrative overheads. Next one is travelers wages and commission. This will be comes under selling and distribution overheads. Next, repairs to plant and machinery. This will be comes under factory overheads. Then director fees, this will be comes under office and administrative overheads. General charges also, which comes under office and administrative overheads. Then the next one is opening stock of finished goods, and next one closing stock of finished goods. Both will be comes under cost of production. And the last one is sales. This is the final answer. We have to compare this value along with the cost of sales in order to find out the profit or loss. Now let us see the solution. See the format again. In order to find out the prime cost, start with opening stock of raw material and add purchase of raw material and carriage on purchase, and subtract closing stock of raw material to find out raw material consumed. Now look at the problem. See the problem. First we need to find the raw material consumed during the year, that is direct material. For that, start with opening stock of raw material and add purchase of raw material and add carriage inwards, and after that subtract closing stock of raw material 95,000. First start with the opening stock of raw material. How much? 75,000, and add purchase of raw material. How much? 68,000, and then add carriage inwards 2,000. Then find the total 1,45,000. Now subtract closing stock. Closing stock of raw material. How much? 95,000. Then you will be getting raw material consumed during the year. How much? 50,000. Then add direct labor. Look at the problem. We have entered opening stock and closing stock of raw material, and we have entered purchase of raw material and carriage inwards. Now we need to enter direct wages. Direct wages is nothing but direct labor. How much? 40,000. And next one is direct expenses 10,000. Direct labor or direct wages, both are same only. How much? 40,000. And direct expenses 10,000. Now get the total 1 lakh. This one is prime cost. Look at the format. So far we have calculated prime cost by adding raw material consumed, direct wages and direct expenses. So for raw material consumed, we have taken opening stock of raw material and added purchase of raw material made during the year and carriage on purchase or carriage inwards, and we have subtracted closing stock of raw material from opening stock, and we did not take direct material scrap sold because this information is not given in the problem. Okay, and now we have got the prime cost, just adding raw material consumed, direct wages and direct expenses. And after finding prime cost, the next step is we need to find work cost. For that, just add factory overheads. Overheads means indirect expenses. Okay, so now we have to find out the factory related expenses that will be comes under factory overheads. Look at the problem. Next one is indirect wages, which comes under factory overheads, and opening stock of work in progress add and subtract closing stock of work in progress, and factory rent, rates and power, this is also comes under factory overheads. Next one, depreciation of plant and machinery also, which is comes under factory overheads. And see any other item, repairs to plant and machinery also, which is comes under factory overheads. That's all. Now enter all those items under factory overheads. Indirect wages 2500. Indirect wages 2500. Next one, factory rent, rates and power 12,000. Factory rent, rates and power 12,000. Next one, depreciation of plant and machinery 3,000. Depreciation of plant and machinery 3,000. Next one, repairs to plant and machinery 1,000. Repairs to plant and machinery 1,000. Now get the total. 2,500 plus 12,000 plus 3,000 plus 1,000, total 18,500. Add along with prime cost 1,18,500. This will be the work cost, but in this problem we have got opening and closing stock of work in progress. No, so add opening stock of work in progress and subtract closing stock of work in progress. Look at the problem. Now we need to add opening stock of work in progress and subtract closing stock of work in progress. Opening stock of work in progress 25,000 and closing stock of work in progress 32,000. Add and subtract. Opening stock of work in progress 25,000. Add along with this, you'll be getting 1,43,500 and subtract closing stock of work in progress amount 32,000. 1,11,500. This is called as work cost. Work cost or factory cost or manufacturing cost. So 1,11,500 is the work cost. After finding prime cost, we need to add factory overheads in order to find out the work cost or factory cost. Look at the format. After finding work cost, then we need to add office and administrative overheads in order to find out cost of production. See the problem? See, here we have office rent and taxes 2,500. Next one, director fees 3,000. Next one, general charges 4,000. These are the three items which comes under office and administrative overheads. Next, we need to add office and administrative overheads. Under that, office rent and taxes 2500. Office rent and taxes 2500. Director fees 3000. Director fees 3000. General charges 4000. Next one, general charges 4000. Total 9500. 1,11,500 plus 9,500. Total 1,21,000. This one is cost of production. After finding cost of production, then we need to add opening stock of finished goods and subtract closing stock of finished goods in order to find cost of production of goods sold. See, opening stock of finished goods 50,000, closing stock of finished goods 30,000. This we need to add, this we need to subtract. This will be comes under cost of production. Add opening stock of finished goods 50,000, 1,71,000 and subtract closing stock of finished goods 30,000. Balance 1,41,000. This is called as a cost of production of goods sold. Finally, we need to add selling and distribution overheads along with cost of production of goods sold. Then you will be getting cost of sales. Selling and distribution overheads. Okay, look at the problem. Carriage outwards, which is comes under selling and distribution overheads. Carriage outwards 2,300. Next one, advertising also, which comes under selling and distribution overheads. Advertising 3,200. Next one, travelers wages and commission. This is also comes under selling and distribution overheads. Travelers wages and commission 6,300. These are the three items which comes under selling and distribution overheads. Carriage outwards 2,300. Advertising 3,200. Next one, travelers wages and commission 6,300. Now get the total 11,800. Okay, so after finding cost of production of goods sold, then we need to add selling and distribution overheads. Okay, 11,800. 1,52,800. This is called as cost of sales. Okay, now we need to add profit to find selling price. But in this problem, sales value is given. The balancing figure will be profit. The balancing figure will be the profit. Now look at the problem to find the sales. So far we have entered all the expenses. Finally, we need to record sales. Sales how much? 2,10,000. Sales how much? 2,10,000. See, total cost of sales how much? 1,52,800. Okay, and the selling price is 2,10,000. The balancing figure between selling price and cost price is equal to profit. The balancing figure is 57,200. This is profit. Okay, cost of sales 1,52,800 plus profit 57,200. Then the selling price will be 2,10,000. But in this problem, selling price is given. Now we have got cost of sales. The balancing figure is 57,200 is a profit. Okay, so this is the way to prepare cost sheet. Hope you all understand this concept. Thank you.